What's up, y'all? It's your boy Vic, getting after it as always. A little more of a somber vibe going on throughout the Bay Area today as the verdict came down in the BART shooting trial. Officer Johannes Mehserle was convicted of involuntary manslaughter in the shooting death of the young Oscar Grant. And there's a lot of feelings about it, so I'm just going to jump right in. But I know I said I was going to be getting back to the business of music, and but obviously this is a huge deal in the Bay Area, and really across the board. But obviously centralized in the Bay Area, and there's a lot of people that have feelings about it. Obviously, me being one of them. So I'm going to air it out. You air it out too. Let me know your thoughts. Vic at BigVicPresents.com. It's Vic with a K. Or, comment on the video, however you want to get at me, Twitter, Facebook, whatever. My initial thoughts on this is, first of all, I separate the verdict, the process of coming to a verdict, from the actual penalty. And given the circumstances surrounding this trial, I really had a hard time envisioning anything else but the involuntary manslaughter conviction. I know that's hard to hear. It's hard to swallow for a lot of folks. It's a highly emotional, highly charged topic, and there's feelings of this is murder. And I'm not even sure if a lot of people know that the judge ruled out any kind of murder one conviction to begin with. So the worst that could happen to that officer would have been a murder in the second degree, and that's where I think the difficulty lies, because you have to prove some type of malicious intent, that the officer acted out of some kind of, that he really was out to kill someone. And whether he was or was not is not the issue. You can't get inside this man's head. What is at issue is, can you prove that that's what he was trying to do? And I just always thought that was going to be a little bit of a stretch, because in fact, from what I understand, there may have been some things that the jury wasn't even allowed to hear about this officer. So really all you have to go on is his record as an officer, which from what I understand, that there weren't any serious issues as far as complaints and things like that. And if there were indeed some things that the jury wasn't allowed to hear about him personality-wise or something like that, again, asking for something that shows some kind of malicious intent, that the officer was out to kill someone, and expecting 12 jurors. I don't even know if you had 12 black jurors. Would you find 12 of them willing to, at random, willing to agree that this was anything but a very, very unfortunate accident? Obviously, there would be those who you couldn't convince one way or the other that this was just another white police officer trying to kill a young black man. Cut and dry. You've got folks who are just gonna take that stance, and there's no getting around it. You have other folks who are going to try at least to look at different sides of it and say, is there a potential that this was an accident? And as soon as that potential is in there, you've got reasonable doubt and you've got involuntary manslaughter. There's just until we get to the point where we can jump in someone's head and know what's in the hearts and minds of folks, this is the imperfection of the justice system as it stands. And again, I didn't see it really playing out any other way. I mean, other than his record as an officer, you just pretty much are dealing with he said, she said, and that's not going to play at this level of court. And if you want to talk about the process of getting jurors, moving this thing to L.A., so they could get a fair trial, and having this jury with no black folks on the jury, even this judge, from what I understand, has historically been pretty lenient on police officers. I mean, that's an institutional issue that is much bigger than the Oscar Grant case, and we just have a long ways to go before we can even go there. But again, you know, I'll say I just don't see them coming back with anything other than the involuntary manslaughter. My issue more so is with the penalty, because there's a potential for this officer to get off. You know, I've heard even talks about probation, although I don't know if that's an option in this case. Hopefully, certainly hope not. But the max sentence, I think, that max he could do, I think, is 15 years in state prison. And I have a hard time believing, particularly with this judge, that he's going to get anything close to that. And that's where my big problem comes in. You know, so again, let me know what you think. You know, what are your thoughts on that? You know, other than that, it's the whole issue of them shutting down downtown Oakland, worrying about protests, and I thought all of that was a little overblown. I thought the media, unfortunately, fueled a lot of hard feelings and you know, and kind of whipped up this hype and frenzy about this verdict coming that could potentially have caused more problems. And thankfully, for the most part, aside from some skirmishes, for the most part, you know, I think folks who were really adverse to this particular decision handled themselves with dignity. And you know, there's always going to be the troublemakers, and those folks have nothing to do with Oscar Grant. They have, you know, they can say whatever they want. I talked about this in an earlier blog. They have absolutely nothing to do with wanting to improve the situation, the legal system, and justice for anybody. These are folks who are, I call them anarchists, who just want to come out and cause trouble and looking for an excuse. In fact, I overheard about 4 or 5 young men talking about, yeah, we're going to tear some shit up. If we don't hear what we want to hear, we're going to tear some shit up. You know, my advice to those cats is, you know, if you don't hear what you want to hear in terms of a verdict, educate yourself. Okay. Educate yourself, higher education, get into a position where you can do something, you know, become a councilman, become a city official. I know it's a slow going change, but we need that kind of change. We don't need people burning things and tearing things. When has that ever made city officials say, you know what, you know, we thought we were on the right track with our legal system, but now that we see that you guys have torn up the city and burned things and destroyed businesses and things like that, now we see the light and we're going to change. It doesn't work that way. So my advice to you guys is just educate yourself, bring in the new generation of city officials and councilmen, and effect the change that way. You know, and by and large, my favorite are the folks, the businesses who were posting the pictures of Oscar Grant. And you know what? If you really had Oscar Grant in your heart and mind, I'm not talking about you, and God bless you. But I know there were some businesses who could give a squirt of piss about an Oscar Grant or about a black man, who were posting pictures on those windows of their businesses as a means of saying, see, I support the cause, please don't destroy my stuff. You know, and if your heart really isn't in that, you know, you deserve to have your stuff destroyed. And I'm not encouraging that kind of behavior. In fact, quite the opposite. I don't believe in that type of protest, but I'm just venting about folks who are basically faking the funk, the posers. So, you know, what can we say? Have we learned anything through all of this? You know, have we come? You know, we've got a black man in the White House. Does that mean anything? How far have we come? I mean, believe me, there were those of us who were still concerned that an acquittal could actually be a possibility. So that lets you know we haven't come that far. Because if that's even in the back of our mind that this man could have possibly been acquitted, and in fact, I would tell you what, just imagine a scenario where there was no videotape. That's all you need to know how far we've come. What if there was no videotape of this? I suspect we would be talking about another situation that got swept under the rug. So, not yet free. Let me know what you think. Vic at BigVicPresents.com. It's Vic with a K. Thoughts to the families that are affected by this, and out.